And good to see you again. A few of the usual suspects seem to be here. This is kind of a new thing, but I think it's fun. I'm having a good time with this, and I'm just glad to be with you. I'm looking at Stacy right now. Maybe she's going to go away in a little bit, but you don't have to go away. We did make a video at Bell's, though. I didn't think it would be too easy to show you on my kitchen table here, but we're going. Hi, Mary. We are going to watch the video in a little bit here, and then I will reenact that on my kitchen table. I think
our work on the fence.
So just remember to mute your mic there. We're hearing some voices, but I've been looking at a flat of zinnias I had started, and I brought them in from my greenhouse, and they've been under lights. They're really nice looking. And in just one day, they have turned towards the window, of a south-facing window. And in one day, they've turned that way. So pretty powerful to watch nature do what she does. And it kind of reminds us that we probably do want lights to start these things. So got a couple things to start with. And the first thing is one of Ryan's rules. I hope this is right side up for you guys. I say grow what you like. I don't like cilantro, even though my wife wants to grow some. I don't put it in my food. I don't want it anywhere near me. So I'm not growing that, but I grow a lot of other things, lots of veggies and lots of flowers too. So have fun with that. So one of Ryan's rules, again, grow what you like. Another rule, and we'll go over this in the video too, we talk about this a little bit, is to start warm and grow cool. And that means that you might want to think about getting a heat mat, or in the old days, really used to put a flat of seeds or pots on your top of your refrigerator. But I know I don't have any room on mine. You could put it in your laundry room where it's a little bit warm, where your heater is. Sometimes that works. You got to monitor that, because if something starts to sprout, and it will when it's so warm, they might get a little leggy. So we have to be careful with that. And also they might get dried out too fast. So the way to do that is with a heat mat. And I talked a little bit about that in the video, and that needs to be monitored pretty much daily too. So yeah, Angie puts hers in the boiler room. You got it. So that would be a double duty of using the warmth there. So start warm, grow cool. And then what you're looking for with your seeds too, another one of Ryan's rules, is good seed to soil contact. So when you're sowing your seeds, press them down into maybe a moist layer of soil and demonstrate that. And press them down or cover them with a layer of soil as directed on the seed package, at whatever depth that says. Remember that some seeds do need light. So a lot of times they'll say barely cover or do not cover. Coleus is one you don't cover if you're growing from seed. So read the packet. That's another rule too. I'll need to make a sign for that. There's everything you need to know is on there. So, well, Stacy, why don't we go ahead and run the video?
Okay, and we did discover while we're sharing video that we can't talk over it. Someday I will figure out how to do that. So the video is about 16 minutes. So just sit back and enjoy. Again, if you have questions during the video, you can try and put them in the chat box. And when we stop sharing the video, we'll be able to address some of those.
Hi, I'm Patrick Ryan from the Alaska Botanical Garden, and we're here at Bell's Nursery today for a little seed starting workshop, which we're going virtual on today. And I should be able to show you exactly what you need to do to start yourself some seeds and have a little bit of fun, grow your own food, grow some flowers, and spend some time in your garden. I'm saying now that gardening is essential, and it's great to have control, that you can grow some of your own food, and there are lots of good reasons to do that. So we'll kind of jump right in, and we'll start with soil. You're going to need some soil, and I recommend buying the best you can afford. So I have the Bell's Mix right here. It's actually, we've got 16 quarts, pretty light, pretty easy to handle, and it's a nice general mix, and I'll tell you kind of what it's for. We have also the Black Gold as a seedling mix, and this is only 8 quarts. Obviously, it's not as big, but it's way lighter. So the seedling mix, I can already tell it has more vermiculite in it, which makes a great seeding mix. And then you can also buy some of the components too. You can get your perlite, which is the exploded volcano rock you'll see in the soil. And there's really no reason to buy all the ingredients to mix your own. And then the vermiculite is the other earth mineral that will be mixed into your seedling mix especially. All right, so we'll go ahead and cut this guy open. We are in an active nursery here, so this is good. No, this is very good. Look at that. It's so good to see green. All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this bag open. So a tool that I like is the little utility knife, and we just cut this guy open. And I'm going to go ahead and just dump this in my big tub here. And this is really dark and rich and great smell. And I'm just going to carefully dump a little bit in here. It looks like it's somewhat moist already. It's just very dark and beautiful. And we can see the perlite in there. And otherwise, it's peat moss. A lot of times, sometimes regional materials, depending on where you are, some kind of wood product. All right, and I can go ahead and wet that down if I want. This is not a dusty mix, but I can give them a little bit of moisture here with my spray bottle. I don't like to get it too wet, though, but I do like to do that to keep the dust down. But this is not a dusty mix today. So I got my cool scooper here. I'm going to go ahead, and here's a great item. You can get this at the big box store. This is a mortar mixing tub, and it makes a great potting table or container. All right, I'm going to just go ahead and dump my soil in here into these cell packs. So these are what you're familiar with already. They break apart into the 4-pack. Used to, in old days, have 6 packs. And they didn't always grow as well. I think you get better plants. You get 4, but I think you get better plants with these. So there's 48 cells in here. That's plenty. And before we keep filling that up, I'll show you a couple other options too. So really your basic unit is the seed flat or tray. This one has holes for drainage. And why do we do that? Well, I'm going to revert to some first grade kind of language here. I spent 21 years in first grade before I graduated. So what we say, what is the law for plants? Of course, they need light, they need air, and they need water. And the air and water has to be in a balance. So water has to go in, but water also has to get out. The bad part about that is if you're gardening on your kitchen table, which some of us have been known to do, you'll want to get the other tray that's like this with no holes, and this can fit inside that one. So this is your basic unit. This is a nice solid one, and you've got different inserts that you can use too. Here's another one with a little bit larger size. These are too flimsy to carry around, but once you get them inside here, they're fine. So that will get you through with your seeds or your transplants into the next stage. But we'll go ahead and fill this guy up. So I'm scooping out the soil. This is a grain scoop from a restaurant supply. And sometimes you can find something like this in the pet food store. This is beautiful, dark, rich soil here. I do see some little twigs. So I'm spilling a little bit when I'm doing this on the kitchen table. It's okay because there's no mess. It's just going right into the tub, the mortar mixing tub. And I'm crunching up a couple chunks in here, but very nice soil. And we're just going to fill them all. The reason I don't wet it down ahead of time, unless it's very, very dry and dusty, is I'll show you in a minute. We're going to add some seeds to this, obviously. But I don't want to have to deal with really soggy soil. There's a couple chunks in here. I'm going to go ahead and just pull those out. And nothing wrong with those, all natural products. And I want to fill these to the top, but I'm not going to compress those or anything. Okay, that looks pretty good. And we'll trim it up here. My handy tool. 2 essentials there. All right, so that one's ready to go. Now I do want to add a little bit of water. Spray bottle is very handy. Get yourself a good one. And that's just to settle the dust a little bit. And when we put our seeds on, they'll start to be activated because that is the secret ingredient for seeds, is water. So let's plant a couple different things today. I'm going to give away a secret and show you my canary bird vines. This is from Ed Hume Seeds, one of my favorite seeds. I already got mine for this year, so I can let you know that there are more available. There are seed racks in the stores. I like to open these this way so I can reseal the packet. It's not glue, just folded, but I'm going to make a little trough here. And these are actually really big seeds. Let's take a little look at those. Normally I would go ahead and soak these first in pretty warm water, soak them overnight, and this softens up the seed coat. There are other ways to do that, where you can actually rub them on a emery board or a piece of sandpaper or nick it with nail clippers. But today we'll just show you how we're going to do this. So I'm just making my little trough, and I'm just going to tap, 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 and these guys come right down the chute, and I'm going to put one per cell, try and get it right in the middle. And it can do a lot of seeding this way. So easy to do. We got 2 in that one, which is kind of okay. Nothing really wrong with that, but I just want one nice plant in each cell. And we'll go ahead and just use up the pack here. Now, as far as that goes, a lot of seed packets are designed for a family of 4 to have plenty of seeds for the garden. And we're going to look at some food items today, but we definitely want to talk about growing some flowers too. So a lot of times, like looking at Renee's seeds here, here's her purple basil, 235 seeds in here. That is plenty. Here is a Tuscan baby leaf kale, 225 seeds. You don't need to plant all those. So very generously supplied with a lot of the seed companies should have all you need. All right, next thing I do is go ahead and just poke those down a little bit. And I've already looked on the package that they need to be buried about a ½ an inch deep. And that'll tell you that on the back of the packet. Lots of good information on the seed packet. So I push those down in there just a little bit. Usually the rule is the seed goes to twice its thickness in depth. In other words, these are fairly large seeds, so they're going to go down about a ½ an inch. All right, that one was done, and then we just finish up with, you can use the vermiculite or you can use your potting soil, and we would just cover those up, and that's why I don't water them at first. It helps settle it down, and I'm going to cover these up because you want good seed to soil contact. In other words, when the seed is sitting in the soil, it's going to be moist. That'll trigger the germination, and you should have pretty good luck with that. I'm not going to cover these yet because I want to remember where I planted those. Also, you need to make a label right away so you don't forget what you planted. I would write the name of the product. If there's a Latin name, just for fun, put that in there, and you can learn something new. Put the date that you planted, and I like to put for Ed Hume, I'll put EH. For Renee's Garden, I'll put RG to remind me where I got those great seeds that I'm enjoying. All right, let's do something else. Let's do a kale here. And here's another Ed Hume product here. It's a Russian red kale, hot item these days. I know when kale really started getting big, you'd see kale chips and everything that you could hardly keep up with the demand. So these are a little bit smaller, and these may be pelletized. They're round, they're rolling around, a little bit harder to handle than those bigger seeds, but easy to get into the cells here. Pelletized means they're rolled in a clay product, and it helps with the smaller seeds. So I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to tap, 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 and I really just want one in each cell. The kind of traditional way, if I get two, it's okay. The traditional way, though, is put two in each cell. When they grow, take a scissors and cut the weak one. I just can't do it. So I like to just put one in each cell. Sometimes they don't germinate. Sometimes your seeds are older, various reasons. Maybe they got dried out. But I'm going to go ahead and fill all the remaining cells here. But I just don't like to cut out that weak one. So we're planting a little bit of kale here. I got two in that one. That's okay. I can separate those later. Put these right inside there. Just tap, tap, tap. Easy to do. Don't dump the whole packet in. And really, when I do this, I find that I might have extra seeds I could share with family or neighbor. You can grow extra plants. We have a Plant a Row for the Hungry national program. All right, I got some kale in there, so I would make a label and put those on. I'm going to cover those. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and grab some of our vermiculite here. And this is another earth mineral, similar to mica. Now, it looks kind of shiny. And this is an inert material. But if I go ahead and just cover these here, they'll hold in the moisture. It kind of reminds me that I have something planted in here, and you can tell when it's wet that it is wet, and it'll tell you when you need to water. And this will hold in the moisture. So again, what we're looking for is good seed to soil contact. That's a little phrase we like to use. It means that the seed is touching the wet earth and should germinate according to the plan, which it'll tell you on the plant label. If something doesn't germinate or start to grow a week past the date, and you'll see on some of these it might be 10 days, you might have not really good seeds. So you might want to replant. So it's always good to save a few extra. Don't plant the whole thing. So I'm going to kind of smash these down a little bit too. Won't hurt anything. And then just to be gentle, we can use our spray bottle again. And you can see maybe the little different color where it's wet as opposed to where it's dry. So we're going to kind of look at some other products here that will help you with your seed starting. And one of them are called the Jiffy 7s, these little pellets here. And you soak these in water and they puff up. They're hard. They're compressed peat, and they have a little netting on them. But when you soak them, they puff up to about 1 inch tall. And I think they're great for larger seeds, great for kids. One of my rules is little kids, big seeds. And these come in different configurations. And actually, it's really not a bad thing because this will make you realize you don't need all 50 of those plants in one packet. You can just plant like one tomato in each one of these. So there's 20 in here. So a nice little square packet, doesn't take up too much room. Here's another one here, 36 for your windowsill planter. Pretty handy thing. You just add water to this, let them puff up, and plant your seed. Super easy. Here's one with 72, so the full size seed flat. Pretty easy to use. Sometimes I don't use the cells, I just plant the tray, like with my lettuces and things. Just plant the smaller seeds in there. So sometimes you have the option for the smaller size trays, which are handy to do. Also have another technique I like to use. The recycled tubs work well. This is a iced tea jug. I drilled holes in the top, and I can easily sprinkle here. And if I squeeze, more water comes out. But it's not too much of a flood. Pretty easy to handle, well balanced, and good recycled materials. Other recycled materials are your produce containers that work really well for free things, and so we'll show you some of those when we get back in the studio.
All right, you are muted, Pat, so you just got to unmute yourself.
There I am.
There you are.
Okay, cool. Well, that was our first attempt at doing a video. It wasn't too bad. I think the mic was a little close. I wasn't too loud and annoying. I was so excited there, and I gathered all these materials from Bell's, and they were nice enough to let us do that. We went in before they were open on Saturday, and they've always been real supportive for the botanical garden, so we sure appreciate those guys. They are open, by the way. I've been to Bell's, Diamond, Mile 5.2, and P&M greenhouses. It is kind of a late spring. It seems like it's early to go buy a bunch of plants. I have a greenhouse, so we've already bought a lot of basket stuffers. My wife's put together a bunch of baskets, and we did winter over a number of begonias. I've got roses, some mint plants that aren't always hardy outside. So we've got all kinds of things going, and lots of little seedlings. So we're well underway. Last year was in Japan at this time, and never leave Alaska in April. That's seed planting time. So we mentioned this in a couple of our presentations. We had how to read a seed packet, and inch by inch, I call my gardening 101, is the Johnny Seed seed calculator. It's a planting schedule. If you go to johnnyseeds.com and go into the growers library, and you'll find this seed calculator. Put in the last frost date in our area, which has traditionally been May 31st. So you put 31/20, and it will immediately calculate a whole list of vegetables and flowers when they should be planted and when they theoretically can get put outside. We don't know what the weather's going to do. That's our best traditional guess. Pretty handy thing. And really, it's time to start most everything now, and you can follow along with our friend Mr. Lowenfels in the paper. Has a weekly schedule of that on Friday, so that's always helpful too. Well, why don't we take a few questions, and I'll see if I can make this work okay. And I appreciate you guys jumping in. We probably won't keep you till the scheduled 7:30, but we'll try and make this worth your while here. So let me see here what we have. Someone's looking for a few blocks of rock wool. That's our friend Mary, looking for 4 or 5 and have yet to be successful. You know, I think the best place for that kind of thing would be Southside Garden Supply. I don't know that they're open. I would guess they are. I think that's gardening is an essential service. It's the big superstore over on Arctic and Northern Lights. So that's maybe someone will chip in here, and maybe they have some. But the rock wool is a spun mineral material. It's sort of like fiberglass. It's not fiberglass, but it's good for seed starting. People use that with hydroponics quite a bit. Okay, so all right. Note from Stacy: if you want to see me bigger, select speaker view. That'd be scary, I think. Angie puts her seeds in the boiler room. Good thinking. I have a friend, I won't say who it is, doesn't live in Anchorage anymore, so it's kind of funny. put in the spare bedroom, put a blue tarp down over electric blanket and use that for a heat mat. So I thought that was pretty smart, really. So Penny asks about using biodegradable cups. I'm not sure which ones you mean. I have a few of the, like, not the red Solo cups, but the clear ones. I've been using those to kind of be germ free and not wash so many dishes too. But I'm saving all those because I've got so many seeds planted, and I will do a little transplanting tonight. There's going to be a pot shortage because I recycled so many last year. So I don't know which cups that you're talking about. You know, when the compostable silverware, as it were, first came out, we had some at the Botanical Garden at an event, and I was gathering it up from the garbage and I was going to put it in the compost pile, but that doesn't mean that's what you do. It means eventually it'll break down in a landfill. I know that Ellen Vandevis of the Good Earth Garden School has tested those in a compost pile, and they're not quick to break down. So I'm not sure which biodegradable ones you're talking about, but anything like that I think is good. Yogurt cups, yeah, use all that recycled stuff. So how early do you think can be started in an unheated greenhouse? Well, we're finally just about pretty regularly staying above freezing at night, but I wouldn't start too many things out there. You have to have a little bit of extra heat. We have a gas heated greenhouse, and it's expensive to heat it all winter. We did winter over quite a number of plants. I've got a lot of tropicals. There's epiphyllum tropical cactus, a lot of cactus, a lot of succulents. So it's sort of my cabin in the woods. So I think it's worth it, but it's expensive. Yeah, I wouldn't start anything except something really cool. Maybe, you know, actually spinach probably would do well for you. Maybe some lettuce. I think that'd be worth a try. Definitely spinach, I think would do well. So let's see here. I don't want to lose you guys. Oh, here we go. I can move you up. We got so many questions.
That's okay, Pat. The next one is what about using egg cartons for starting seeds?
Okay, not a fan of that. They're so small that they dry out really fast. And you can, of course, have the styrofoam ones who wouldn't dry out as fast. There's still a really small amount of soil in there. And that's in every kid's gardening book. And it's actually kind of a pet peeve of mine because they do dry out quickly. And if it's the paper ones, it's sort of like the peat pots. And the peat pots are made of compressed peat. And the idea is down there in America, you can plant your transplants right into this peat pot, plant the whole thing, and it'll break down. It does not break down in our soil. If any part of that pot if here's the soil level, if the pot is sticking up above the soil, it wicks the moisture away. And that's what happens with those egg cartons too. If it works for you, that is fine. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but just remember, the smaller the pot, the quicker they're going to dry out. So it's a good idea to check your seeds every day, no matter what you're using.
So there's a good question, Pat, about leggy starts. So what causes that?
I got that.
And then, okay.
Okay. Leggy starts was low light, and it's hard to recover from those. It's probably better to replant. I got all my seeds off to a good start. I think there's enough. I'm sure we're over 15 hours of daylight. Not every day is sunny. It was a little bit cloudy today, but if you have a good south-facing window, and you don't want to use your kitchen table for eating, you can fill that up. You really do want to think about getting some lights, and I can't do too much with that with you tonight. I did pull some pictures from my files that maybe I can show you on a share screen, but I think I'm going to mess that up. So I don't think that's going to work too well, but we can revisit that. And actually, just kind of shop around while, if you feel comfortable being out, use your mask and gloves if you want. Bell's does not have lights, but Home Depot and Lowe's has a good selection. Again, buy the best you can afford. I'll tell you what we use in our school program. We have the rolling, they call them the baker's rack from Costco, the rolling steel shelves. Get the big wheels if you use that. And we have just shop lights. A shop light is just a long kind of rectangular box that holds 2 bulbs. And then we've also added these, so it's like a box like this that goes in a long tube kind of thing, you know, where your light bulbs go. But then we have a big hood, that reflector hood that goes over the top. And that we use T5s with a red spectrum and a blue spectrum to cover the whole range of what plants need. But fluorescent lights are just fine. But I would definitely start looking into having some kind of lighting system. So once the seeds germinate, we take the plastic cover off. Yes, do that. And I've got, I don't know, over a dozen flats started. I was waiting for these cathedral bells, one of Renee's wonderful vines that I like to grow. And I had soaked them. Oh, and they just turned sticky and gooey. And I'm not going to soak those again. And in fact, I think I got them right here. I've got some, these are sweet peas. I don't know if you can see that. Let me pull one out. I'm going to grab it by the root. Here's a sweet pea that was soaked, and I'm holding the root because after about 2 days, they start sprouting. And you got to keep that water fresh. Don't let that get all stinky. It's like your flowers in a vase. It'll get stinky. That's bacteria. But then I plant those. I like to do that on the big plants. But anyway, that cathedral bells finally sprouted. There was nothing yesterday, and today they were up about 1.5 inches, which again, they don't want to let them get leggy. So I've got them under my lights right now, and I've got LEDs. The ones I have 2 bulbs in them. They're about 2 feet long, and you can turn them onto a white light, a red light, or a blue light, or any combination. So I'm liking those to get my seeds started. So if they're at different heights, how far should they be from the heat lamp? I don't know that you want a heat lamp. You want lights, which are going to be warm too, about 2 to 4 inches. Don't burn them up. And even on a heat mat, a friend of mine that owns Cobra Tools, there was really a nice bunch of tools that they sell. He had posted a note about putting a 1/4 inch plywood over your heat mat. The heat mat is just a little, just as it says, it's a little mat that you plug in, and it's the size of a 1020 seed flat, which is measured 10 by 20 inches. That's what those flats are. And but I've burned up seeds before. I mean, just dried them out, because skip a day of checking them and they get too dry. So a timer or a thermostat on that is a good idea. So, but lights do get warm too, and so about 2 to 4 inches. And when you plant them to bigger cells, you're going to want to wait till probably you've got your second set of leaves. When your first leaves come out, you get those little Mickey Mouse ears, that little dicot comes out. So you've got a little stem and those little tiny leaves, and you're not even sure what that is yet. But when you get the second set of leaves come out, then that is specific to that plant. And then I would go another set there, and don't grab them by the stem. Take a leaf, take a chopstick, pop that thing out, and transplant it into another pot. Now I'm going to do a couple tomatoes for you tonight, if you want to stick around. We're going to get dirty on my table here. Let's go through the questions first, though. Right now, they're in the starter cell pack. Yeah. Don't let them get too big, and you can actually pop them out and check the roots. So only get 2 root bound and then before you transplant. When you're getting leggy, how do you recover them? Yeah, it's hard to recover them. I did some sunflowers last year, and I let them get too tall. And I actually started some this year of the giant sunflowers, because I really want them to get giant. And they're about 4 inches tall now. And they look like they're too leggy, but I think it's just because they're the big giant ones because they've been under light and they should be okay. A fan might help to get a little gentle breeze because that movement of that helps the stems to beef up a little bit. So that might be possible. Definitely get the best light you can get though. Egg cartons for zucchini. Carrots, traditionally we do not plant carrots indoors to transplant. If you want to grow weird vegetables, transplant your carrots. They get multiple legs and all curly and strange looking. So zooks and chard for sure. Chard would be another one in your unheated greenhouse. Now, good, yeah, and they would look lovely after a week. They'll grow fast, but they're going to dry out in those egg cartons pretty fast. So watch out for that. I turn the light on for 12 to 16 hours. I run mine from like 10 to 10. And I have them on a timer too, just a simple like Christmas tree light timer. So you can get a mechanical one for under $10. They have digital ones too, but just go simple. I have not started asters. I've started just about everything else. If you have some seeds, just check out the packet. If it's Renee's Garden, there'll be some great information there, reneesgarden.com. I'm a big fan of hers. And whatever seed packet you have should have a website. We'll have more information. Another place I like to go is Floret Flower Farm, I think is the site, Floret, Floret Flower Farm, I believe. You can find them down in Washington. It's a cut flower farm. And Erin posts some great articles and grows plants to sell cut flowers. So I'm pretty sure there'd be an article on asters for there. Okay, well, looks like Shirley's gonna leave us, but I'm gonna take you guys on a little journey here, and I'm not sure how to make this a full screen, Stacy, but I'm gonna pick up my computer and spin it around, so everybody might get dizzy. Do that in a sec. A quick comment too, at Bell's, I just wanted to show you a big seed and a small seed being planted. Normally I wouldn't mix varieties in a flat, and I might not need 72 seeds from one variety. Just don't fill the flat. I mean, it's hard to waste the space. And I've done it, but it's not the best plan because they might need different, like moist or dry or light or no light or something. So usually we don't mix those. I didn't really mention that. All right, well, I'm gonna pick you guys up and I'm gonna spin you around here. I'm gonna set you up on diced tomatoes. And let's see if we can make this work here. Light on?
That looks great, Pat.
Oh, good. Okay, great. I just have the logo on my screen. How do you do that again?
If you
I don't
want
need to see me, but
if you want to see yourself, you can go to speaker view at the top, but your camera is perfect. We can see everything.
Well, I won't mess with that. Okay, well, good. Let's move a few things around. I'll pick up these zinnias and show you. Look at that, these happy little guys. And they were sitting like this at my kitchen table. And in one day, they've leaned like this. It's phototropism. They've moved over. So what do? Spin them around. Tomorrow they'll go back out in the greenhouse. I just wanted to show you a nicely grown and well-planted seed flat. Some of these I did accidentally get 2 in. I am not going to cut out the weak one. I'm just not doing that. This one has 3. I just can't do it. This guy could be considered the weak one, but I won't hurt you, little guy. Some of these two have the seed still attached to it. My wife loves to pick those off, the little seed coat. Don't worry about that. We have kind of some different opinions on gardening, but we get along okay. All right, I wanted to show you this real quick too. I got this pretty handy. It's a little screen thing. I got this at Mill and Feed. It has 2 types of, 2 sizes of screen. The one I'm using here and what I use it for is to recycle some of my soil, but now I've built a larger one that I use out in the yard, and I put it over a wheelbarrow and I dump my old soil right in there and screen it out and take out the chunks and the big root blobs of things and anything I don't want in there. And I reuse that soil in containers outside. I'm not too worried about spreading anything around. I somehow always get chickweed in there, but I can deal with that. When I'm doing my seed flats though, I will definitely use nice, fresh, new soil. I don't want to introduce anything bad in there. So another thing to look for sometimes at the nursery, this one's called a daisy tray. And sometimes at the nursery, they will let you take one of these. And I like to use them because I recycle my seed flats. I'm gonna pick up one here. It's got a little crack in it, so it's structurally, it's not as sound. It's a little wobbly, and I've already filled it with soil. I'm gonna set it inside that daisy tray, and now it's ready to go. So sometimes we want to plant things that aren't going into these little cells. So I've got some thyme right here from Renee, a creeping thyme, and these are so tiny. They're just like dust. And here's my little tool for this. This is the dial-a-seed sower, and this guy's going to help me here. So I've got different numbers 0 through 5. 0 is no hole, so make sure there's no other seeds in there right now. I'm going to dump this packet in here. I don't want to dump them in my computer, but I'm seriously there, like as big as a period at the end of a sentence on a small font. I don't like to leave any seeds in the package. I call that no seed left behind, which is another one of my talks that we may go ahead and post. Those happen on Mondays, our Lunch and Learn. Okay, a few of them tried to escape down the chute. I'm going to grab this. So number 5 is the largest hole. You can see that. And number 1 is the smallest hole. Very small. Oh, sorry. I blinked. So I'm going to set this on here, and I'm just going to go ahead and, as I did before, tap, 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 and just kind of wiggle over the seed flat, try and spread these around. I'm not really trying to do a 1-inch spacing or anything like that. Just to spread these around here, and these you barely cover. And you know what? It looks like a bunch of them sort of fell in one spot. So I'm going to just wiggle this around here. Sometimes we call this angel kisses. One of our volunteers calls that when we do this with kids. So I'm just kind of mixing them up a little bit. And actually, that's fine to cover them. They don't need very much, just barely cover. And this is where you would want a spray bottle, not yet. There we go. And just settle those down in there. Remember, good seed to soil contact. Also, the water initiating the growth cycle. I call it the secret ingredient. And it makes a funny noise while you're doing this. Okay, and again, I can combine with my little tool and pack those down a little bit more. And they're a little tiny, and they're not going to stick to this because I've had them go into the soil a little bit. But just in case, clean that off. I've already made a label. And there it is. I put the name of the seed, and there it is. The seed company and the date. And if I know the Latin name, I'll put that on there. And this one's horrible. Thymus is the genus for thyme, but the second word is Pulgioides. I never want to say that word again. So I'm going to just stick that in there. I'm not going to really make myself learn that one. That one's kind of rough. So this guy I can put in my greenhouse, which is now getting full. So I might just leave this guy outside. I do that with poppy seeds too, and some cold weather things that I just let them live their life outside. They'll germinate when they're ready, because my greenhouse is getting pretty full. All right, well, here's the basic unit that you can get. It's your regular seed plat. This is at most of the stores right now, different varieties, all about the same. This is pretty reasonably priced. It has the inserts. There's 72 in here. They do break apart into 2 trays, so they're not 4 packs. The clear plastic is nestled down inside there. It's in the flat and 20 flat. And it's not the super heavy ones, but it's okay. At Southside, we got to get these guys to sponsor us. But I'll just put in a plug for them. And I think Bell's has them too. There's like really a lot thicker tray, and I like those too. Sometimes I nest, this one has holes in it. I nest it in another one or an old one of these and water from the bottom. If they're really small seeds, that's a good way to do it so they don't get dislodged. So we're going to recreate what we did at Bell's on the film. I've got my seed or my soil in a big tub here. I'm going to use my little tool, and my wife's still at work, so when I do this on the kitchen table, she says, "Why do we have a greenhouse? You should be doing it out there." But I won't make a mess, I promise. And if I do, I'll clean it up. I've gotten to be a pretty good housekeeper here these last few weeks. Doing vacuuming every day, do the dishes, do the laundry. She's still working, so share the wealth. All right, almost ready. Just add a few more on these edges. And again, this isn't really dusty. It's kind of dry. You might want to wear a dust mask. You don't need the special one, just a plain old dust mask if you could even find one. Now here's a big chunk of wood in there. So again, regional products are used a lot of times. They'll say on the bag what's in it. This was actually Pro Mix, which is a 2 cubic foot bale. The guys at the store will load it for you. And if it's too heavy for you to move, get yourself a scooper or another tub and cut it open in the back of your car and start scooping it out into a smaller tub. You don't have to lug those big things. All right, I'm going to wet this down just a little bit just to settle the dust and to get it ready for receiving the seed, and also to make it sink down a little bit. I don't like to, as I mentioned in the video, to water it too much because I think it's harder to get into the cells that way. So just a little bit to soak it down there. All right, I'm going to go ahead and plant my sweet peas as opposed to garden peas. So all these guys, they were sprouted about 2 days ago. I might not plant them all right now. We'll grab a few. I don't know if you can see these. They have sprouted. So I'm going to carefully stick those in, and I won't push them down yet because again, I want to remember where they are. Putting them right in the middle. And I know these go about 1 inch or 1/2 inch. And it doesn't matter if you set them on their side because the roots know how to grow. They know which way to grow. It's called geotropism, which means earth movement. And they know how to grow towards the earth so they can do their job. So you really can't plant them upside down. All right, just do a couple rows here. All right, so then I would go ahead and push those down because I don't have wet soil so much that there's no give to it. So I can just push these right down in there easily, cover them, and then I would cover them with another fresh load of soil so that we have that good seed to soil contact, a phrase that I want you to commit to memory. All right, this guy's ready to go. I just put the lid on it. Once I would fill the tray up, we're ready to go. All reusable stuff too. If you rinse these off the end of the season, you can clean those and you can use them again. Another great thing is recycled materials. Your produce containers. The ones like this from strawberries are going to leak. So you, again, don't want that right on the kitchen table. You want that in one of those trays. I get those no-hole trays that can go right inside there. Just fill it up with soil So easy to do. Cool scooper. These already have holes, so you remember that we need light, air, and water. We're going to have water, but we also have drainage, so you don't need to worry about holes in there. So that's ready to go. I could just do a whole handful of seeds in there, some flowers, some herbs possibly, and it comes with its own lid. And you could write right on there too, get a Sharpie and write right on there the date and what's in there. Pretty easy to do. Had some delicious soup the other night from Rice Garden, and came in this great container. And boy, I'm a good recycler, but I'm going crazy with this stuff now. So that's another thing. I'm going to need a lot more pots to transplant all my zinnias over here, for one thing. So have to be ready for that. And then kind of for me, a standard is the 4-inch pot, which nest nicely. The round ones, if you use yogurt containers and that in a flat, they don't nest very well, but these guys do. And so I like to use this size. It's also, as the 4-inch size, you won't have to transplant again. If you plant them into a smaller, from the seedling tray into a smaller pot, then you're gonna have to plant again. So this saves me a step. So this one I've already filled and wet it down a little bit. Settle the dust. And I'm gonna use my finger. This is called a dibble, and poke a hole in there. And actually, I'm going to do a deep hole because I'm going to plant a tomato, and tomatoes should be planted deeply. So here's what I have. I grew in one of those little windowsill planters with the Jiffy 7 trays. Now this was the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. One didn't come up here. This one came up really late. These two didn't come up, and the other ones I planted, and they're doing great. And here's how they come out of that tray. Now this one, I didn't realize I got 2 in there, but that's okay. I'm not going to cut out the weaker one, but I see the roots on the bottom of that too. So they will grow through there, but I just don't think that the netting breaks down very well. And if I cut a couple roots, it doesn't matter. So I'm cutting the netting off of the Jiffy 7 here on my tomato plant. Cut that like that. Pull this apart, roots coming out the side. Tomato plants are pretty tough. Now the trick is, I'm going to split these open gently. There we go. Look at that. Piece of cake. Literally. And I'm gonna dump this into the other pot. I hope you guys can see that okay. And set this a little deeper. Way down at the bottom. Okay. Hold it upright. And it's okay to bury that stem, because what happens is you get adventitious roots. They're little side roots, and it makes the plant stronger, and it helps it absorb more nutrients. So there we go, easy. Remember all that soil I spilled? I'll just go back for that and scoop it up in the tub. Let's plant the other one while we got him here. Oops, I don't want too much in there because I'm going to refill it. So that wasn't hard. So why sacrifice one? You waste time, money, energy, seeds, and it's just too mean. So here's the other one, and I'm grabbing it not by the stem, because the stem is the elevator, and if I break that, this thing can't live. But if I grab it by a leaf and I hurt the leaf, it's definitely going to grow more leaves. So what this is, you're not going to believe this. Look at this. Brad's Atomic Grape. This is from Baker Creek Seeds. When I got the Baker Creek catalog, one of many, this early winter, actually in like January, they start coming out. Couldn't resist it, just crazy, crazy colors. So it's a grape tomato. Looking forward to something weird. And that's the advantage of growing something from seed. You're not going to find these for sale anywhere, I would just about bet. But you can grow your own. You can find some unique things. You can learn to enjoy some new foods. As we talked to Renee on Friday, Renee Shepherd was saying that, maybe I'll zoom in here again. There we go. Was saying that they are selling out of orders. I got notes from Territorial Seed and botanical interests that are suspending orders for 2 weeks just to get caught up because they're selling like crazy. But there's no world seed shortage. It's not the zombie apocalypse. So there's no shortage. They just might be out, which would encourage you to try something new perhaps. But the seeds are in the store. So if you're trying to order online, something might be sold out, but check locally. Always try and support the local folks, especially in these times. And you should find pretty much what you need or something very similar. All right, well, let's see. I think that's all the goodies I brought in. Oh, I'll show you one more. My ultimate favorite recycled container. The Swiffer Wet Jet box. It comes with the plastic lid. It comes with a nice solid tray. Drill a couple holes, rinse it out really well, no soap, and fill it with soil. Boom. You've got your free little, pretty much what that Jiffy pack, Protex pack that we paid money for. This one, you've got double duty on that. This ProHex, by the way, just real quick, they do, the shape of them makes the roots go down, and they are pretty deep cells. So I'm pretty happy with these guys. They work well. But there are a lot of similar things to this too. So just shop around, buy the best you can afford. And I'm gonna bring you back and see if we have some more questions. And, oh, please post the lunch and learns, okay? Mason says he can't kill anything either. Yeah, after a long winter, you were so excited. They go, it's a miracle. It really is pretty amazing. So it can't hurt those little guys. We do post the lunch and learns. And Stacy can tell you about that when we get done. That tool is called the Dial a Seed Sower. I believe it's a Burpee product, Burpee Seeds. It's usually sold by the Burpee Seed Rack. I've seen them at Home Depot for sure. And I think Lowe's too. Or a seed dial, yeah. What's that? Make your own seed dial tool. Of course, there's something on YouTube or Pinterest, I would guess. I actually use an old, like a seasoning shaker. It's a salt and celery salt and different onion salt, different salts. It's called Nature Seasoning. And when that thing is done, it's a little small bottle about like that. It's got like little holes in the top. Mix that with some sand and sprinkle my seeds that way if I'm doing a whole thing. But this is pinpoint accuracy, that little tapping where I'm getting one seed to fall in a hole. So I did not put the sweet peas outside. Now they're going into the greenhouse when I'm getting ready, but you should be starting now. You should start tomato seeds now. I don't have the Johnny calculator handy, but yeah, it's time. And I love poppy seeds. They're so tiny, you're right. That thyme we just planted too, they're like poppy seeds. They're even smaller than poppy seeds. They're just like dust. I actually, like with kids, what I do is get my big hand in there. I give them a handful or a little pinch, and then we actually do pinch them, and I put them over the soil, and I wiggle our fingers, and we spread them around like that. I don't try and put one seed of the poppies. They're so small. I sow them in a flat with no cells, just the open flat, and just try and spread them to about 1 inch spacing. Poppies don't like to be transplanted. So I just, when they're ready, it's sort of like a mat of sod. There's a whole bunch of plants in there, and I just break off chunks, and I'll lose a few plants, but I have so many, it's okay. I don't really have a favorite cucumber, but Renee has a great selection. There's a little, I think it's some kind of lemon thing. It's a little yellow one, looked pretty interesting. Okra, I haven't grown it myself. Good luck with that. If it's a hot summer, we can definitely do it. Are we going to do summer camp? I don't know. We'd like to. Things are still up in the air, and Stacy can address that. Yeah, we can follow up with an email with you. All right, we'll keep the questions coming if you want, you guys. This is fun. Thanks for your support of the garden, and we're happy to bring you these free educational festivities that we're doing. So again, Monday will be another lunch and learn, and Wednesday we have art, kind of more for kids, but I think for big kids too. And then Friday I have an interview with Dan Himes from Terra Nova Nurseries, and you should check out the Terra Nova site. I am a coleus freak as well as the poppies that I love. I love vines too, but coleus is an addiction. And oh my gosh, you will just go crazy looking at the Terra Nova Nursery site for that. When do we start carrots? Well, those are direct sown. You don't start them indoors. There are several, like peas. You can start peas indoors, but carrots definitely outside. I have big tubs I plant things in, like tree pots. They had trees in them. I have a couple raised or elevated beds that are like a box up on legs, and they are still covered with snow. If they're thawing, it's frozen and muddy. You have to be able to grab a handful of soil, squeeze it, and only get 1 or 2 drops of water out of it, and it will crumble back. So it's too cold, and you probably just have mud and snow right now. So